Greetings, friends. You are watching the Ruslan Belov channel. Today, June 22nd, 2026, we will analyze the situation on the front lines and around the world. A great deal has happened, so let's get straight to the point. First, a quick reminder. YouTube regularly suppresses military analytical content in search results and limits its reach. Therefore, if you want to continue receiving daily reports, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss new episodes. Special thanks to our sponsors and everyone supporting the channel through Super Thanks. Your help is truly vital. We begin, as usual, with the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, starting with the confrontation in the Black Sea. Several important updates have arrived from this sector today. As a reminder, since June 1st, 2026, a series of incidents involving the use of unmanned surface vessels, sea drones, against commercial bulk carriers and tankers near the port infrastructure of the Odessa region has been recorded. Both the strikes themselves and subsequent fires were noted. According to incoming reports, another dry cargo ship traveling from Odessa ports toward international waters was hit last night. The strike was again carried out by a sea drone. A picture is emerging that the Russian side has brought its own version of a maritime drone to operational readiness. The technology has apparently passed testing and is now being actively deployed, specifically in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. The strategic goal is clear: to establish control over Ukraine's merchant shipping in this direction, moving down to the southwestern part of the Odessa region. For the past several days, there have been heavy strikes on energy and fuel logistics here, targeting fuel truck parks, gas stations, and oil depots. Today, information is coming in regarding a strike on bridge and logistical infrastructure near the settlement of Mayaki. Footage has been published by local sources. Take note, the Ukrainian side is actively building crossings along the Dniester River, specifically in the Mayaki area, to maintain a logistical link with NATO through Romanian territory and to avoid losing communication with settlements along the Danube in the southernmost part of the region. Given that the Russian side is regularly striking infrastructure in the Zatoka area every 3 out of 5 days, the logistics of this entire Danube corner are beginning to suffer significantly. Moving to the Nikolaev-Kherson direction, which also provides plenty of material. We'll start with the Kinburn Spit. On the night of June 22nd, high-intensity video appeared showing aerial bomb strikes on Kazachi Island, located south of Ochakov and slightly north of the Kinburn Spit. Judging by the nature of the operations, the Ukrainian side viewed the island as a jumping-off point, staging area, for a possible landing operation on the Kinburn Spit. Simultaneously, strikes are being recorded in the area of Ochakov itself. The Russian side is clearly seizing the initiative in the northwestern Black Sea. A serious, multi-layered confrontation is unfolding here. What stands out across the Kherson-Odessa-Crimea zone as a whole is the sharply increased volume of material from sectors along the Dnieper River between Kherson and Oleshki. Dozens of clips are dedicated to artillery and FPV drone work against suspected forward positions of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, AFU, along the river. This density of geolocations may indicate that the Ukrainian side has concentrated marine landing units and special forces on the banks of the Dnieper. This allows for two interpretations. Either a crossing attempt is being prepared to reach the southwestern part of the Kherson region in conjunction with an operation on the Kinburn Spit, or it is a demonstration of preparation intended to force the Russian side to keep large reserves here. I emphasize, there are no confirmed mapping changes in this sector yet. This is currently an interpretation of activity, moving toward Zaporizhzhia and the Zaporizhzhia direction. Several videos have been published over the last 24 hours showing strikes on the fuel industry within the city itself. Another oil depot west of Zaporizhzhia was significantly damaged, with several fuel tanks destroyed. Another gas station, according to reports, was completely destroyed in the western part of the city. To the south, the Ukrainian side continues its attempts to advance toward Vasilivka and Kupiansk. The Russian side is launching counterattacks, and corrections in its favor have been recorded over the past day. The return to the central part of Stepnohirsk, specifically the area of Tavricheskaya and Centralnaya streets, has been confirmed, despite the fact that Ukrainian resources had long ago claimed control over this village. In essence, the Ukrainian counteroffensive here has stalled. Apparently, additional Russian reserves have been deployed to the Zaporizhzhia sector to stabilize the line. In response, the Ukrainian side launched an aerial bomb strike on the bridge along the M18 highway, connecting Vasilivka and Kupiansk. Footage shows the bridge is completely destroyed, and the Russian command is now looking for supply options for the grouping along the Stepnohirsk-Kupiansk line, where active fighting continues. Looking at the Zaporizhzhia direction as a whole, there are no major corrections over the past 24 hours. Fighting and likely regrouping are underway. Compared to the second half of 2025, the Russian side is currently holding the line rather than moving. Slightly to the east, near Kharkiv, the picture is different. There are almost no specific map corrections for the day, but this is not a quiet sector. The Vostok group of forces continues to press through the last line of defense on the approaches to Kharkiv, aiming to begin the battle for the city itself this summer. This direction should be monitored closely. Next, the Dobropillia direction. Information is coming in regarding a series of strikes on Pavlohrad and the settlement of Hubinivka. Footage shows what is presumably a gas processing plant. The strikes were carried out by new-generation Geran drones equipped with homing systems, which once again demonstrates that the Russian side has established tight fire control to a depth of up to 100 kilometers from the front line. The Dobropillia sector itself remains static. Aviation and artillery regularly strike the city of Dobropillia, but the front line is not moving. Recall that over the past week, the Russian army managed to improve its positions between Novyi Donbas and Stepi, and some observers expected a subsequent push toward the T-0514 highway. However, a pause has set in here. New information may emerge in the coming days. Moving to Kostiantynivka, the map in this sector has changed noticeably over the past 24 hours. The main corrections are in the northern part of the city, in the Chervony and Novoselivka micro-districts. By the end of June 22nd, the map has been significantly updated based on several videos showing Russian servicemen raising flags in the central part of the city. One of these points has been geolocated. Based on the totality of data, the battle for Kostiantynivka is entering its final stage. The Russian army is estimated to control about 95% of the settlement. The remaining percentage will likely be harder to take. It is no longer just the northern outskirts, but part of the Alekseyevo-Druzhkovka defense node, effectively the approaches to Druzhkovka, where the Ukrainian side has spent the last few months trying to build a new defensive line. I should note that a second report also mentions the elimination of a pocket in the Metallurg micro-district and the remains of the central industrial zone. However, the figure of several hundred destroyed AFU personnel mentioned there comes from a Russian statement and lacks objective visual confirmation for now. Moving to the Sloviansk sector. In the area of Kryvya Luka and Nikolaevka, the advancement of Russian units is recorded. West of Kryvya Luka, clearing operations of forest belts are underway, along with a gradual movement toward Nikolaevka, the last node shielding Sloviansk from the east along the strategic heights of the Siversky Donets. But the main hotspot today is Lyman, also known as Krasny Lyman. Here, the Ukrainian defense has buckled, and the city is being surrendered micro-district by micro-district. Yesterday, advancement occurred in two parts of the city simultaneously. Near the two churches, Iveron icon of the Mother of God and St. Nicholas, and it was from here today that Russian units occupied the block to the south. According to the latest corrections, approximately 90–95% of Lyman is under Russian control. The Ukrainian side still holds the southernmost part and the center. The most powerful fortified point has been set up in the central city hospital. However, the exit from the center is under fire and is narrowed by railway tracks. The bottleneck is getting tighter every day. This leads to two scenarios: either a hasty withdrawal to save the garrison, in which case the defense of Lyman collapses completely, or holding out to the end following the Kostiantynivka scenario, which would delay the fall of the city by a week at most. The Ukrainian army is retreating to the westernmost part, closer to the Blue Lakes, through which they plan to retreat further toward the Siversky Donets and toward Mayaki, Sidorov, and Donetsk. The Russian Ministry of Defense is publishing a significant volume of video from the battles for Lyman, including footage of flags being raised. At least 4 have been confirmed by this video, mainly in the southern and southeastern parts. An official announcement regarding the conclusion of battles for both Kostiantynivka and Lyman will likely follow within the next 10 days. Meanwhile, fighting is intensifying in the South Kupiansk direction, in the area of Sviatohirsk and Studenok. Materials are appearing showing strikes on AFU logistics between Studenok and Yeremivka. The task of the Zapad group of forces here is to reach the Oskil River, specifically points like Podliman, Pisky Radkivsky, Oskil, as well as Izium, Studenok and Sviatohirsk. After the battles for Lyman conclude, a significant portion of forces will be freed up and likely redirected to finish off the remains of the Borova pocket. In the North Kupiansk direction, Russian units continue their movement toward the Oskil, toward Kovsharivka, Novoshinove, and Kupiansk-Vuzlovyi. Over the past 24 hours, the grey zone and infiltration zone have expanded, and the territory under Ukrainian control is shrinking. I will add details from a second report. Forest clearing is underway west of Glushkovka. Advancement is recorded in the high-rise buildings of Kovsharivka, and some Ukrainian units risk being surrounded in a local pocket. Fighting also continues in the Kurilivka area. The village itself was occupied long ago, but to the north remains the abandoned military town of Kurilivka 1, which is still being contested. Russian units are bypassing it from the north. Next, the northeastern part of the Kharkiv region, where, according to the Seva group of forces, a battle for the pocket in the Petropavlivka area, just north of Fyholivka, has been ongoing for about 2 weeks. According to corrections, the fighting here is nearing completion. By leveling the front line from the direction of Fyholivka and Petropavlivka, then through Nova Vasilivka, the Russian side can continue the offensive toward Kolodezne, then Obukivka and Hrihorivka, coming out behind the Ukrainian grouping at Malyi Burluk in the northeasternmost tip of the region. A second report adds a counter-movement. Simultaneous infiltration is occurring from the direction of Vovchansk through tree lines toward Bilyi Kolodyaz, meaning 2 groupings are converging toward each other. Kolodezne and Bilyi Kolodyaz are the 2 largest nodes in this part of the region. Besides them, only Prikolotne and Velikai Burluk remain. The rest are small villages and fields without the dense industrial development found in the Donbas. It is worth noting an analytical point from the second report here. The scale of reserves involved does not align well with the version of creating merely a border buffer zone. This suggests the goal might be to cut off the entire Kharkiv salient over the summer. Various possible motives are cited: to push the AFU away from the Belgorod region, or to use the occupied territory as a bargaining chip in future negotiations. For example, in connection with Kherson, where a river crossing would be extremely difficult. Situational logic is also not ruled out. Attack where an attack is working, stretching Ukrainian reserves across the entire front. I emphasize that these are theories, not confirmed plans. The priority of the Kharkiv direction is also confirmed by the volume of strikes. Over the past 24 hours, a series of aerial bomb strikes was carried out on Kharkiv's CHPP-5 heat and power plant. The facility and substations within its perimeter were significantly damaged. Video was also published of strikes on a Nova Poshta terminal in the Kharkiv district. Consequences were reported yesterday, but today footage of the strike itself by second-generation Geran drones with homing systems appeared. According to several sources, up to 4 strikes were delivered. Whether the terminal is completely destroyed is hard to say, but the damage is significant. Based on established practice, a follow-up strike, including a missile strike, is likely until the facility is fully disabled. In the Kozacha Lopan area, strikes are being carried out on Zolochiv and its surroundings. The tempo here is not decreasing. Regarding the Sumy direction, sources diverge, and this is important to note. The first report mentions a significant Russian army advance over the weekend along the Kotin, Pizarivka and Volzhanske, Kyanitsia, Novosich lines, with possible confirmation from the Russian Ministry of Defense coming soon. The second report, conversely, indicates there are no changes in the Sumy region. Until objective visual confirmation arrives, I am leaving this sector as disputed. Now, the block on mutual strikes. For several days in a row, the Ukrainian side has been striking deep into Russian territory. Directions toward Kerch, the central part of the country, and the capital region were recorded. The strike on Kerch took place back on June 21st. Energy infrastructure facilities were damaged then. Satellite imagery showed multiple anomalies near port infrastructure, a military unit, and a parking area at Port Kavkaz, as well as air defense systems. Fresh images appeared today. Between 2 and 4 fuel tanks were destroyed, according to various estimates. The Ukrainian side also published footage of the strike itself. On the port, radars and air defense assets. A strike on a vessel providing the transfer of equipment from Port Kavkaz to Kerch was specifically noted, targeting the ferry link to Crimea. The fleet of such vessels is limited, and its damage could worsen the fuel situation on the peninsula. During the day, a large number of drones were recorded heading toward the capital region. According to local authorities, about 70 drones heading for the capital were shot down. Hundreds of clips showing air defense working over the city were published. Judging by the result, nearly all targets were intercepted. The Ukrainian side, in addition to the strikes themselves, was likely testing the combat capability of the capital's air defenses. After this, the focus shifted. This morning, information arrived about a strike on Voronezh. According to one version, between 4 and 12 Storm Shadow missiles were involved. This figure is unconfirmed. Versions vary. The strike on Voronezh coincided in time with the resignation announcement of British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And I checked this resignation separately. It is real, announced today, June 22nd, at Downing Street. Though Starmer remains acting PM until a successor, most likely Andy Burnham, is elected. However, an important caveat. According to all available sources, the reasons for the resignation are domestic: pressure within the Labour Party, a rout in the May local elections, and the rapid growth of Reform UK, not manipulation by Russia. I leave the interpretation of the Voronezh strike as a parting message from the outgoing PM only as a theory, without factual confirmation of a link. According to incoming data, the strike hit an industrial enterprise involved in the production of components for the defense industry. At the same time, it is noteworthy that Russia has not yet responded with a massive strike on Ukraine. According to the latest Ukrainian report, only 89 drones were used on the night of June 22nd, and this is the 4th day in a row where the count is around 90-100 drones per night. If this estimate is correct, more than 600 ready-to-use drones could have accumulated over 4 days. To what threshold this accumulation goes is an open question. A strike is possible as early as the night of June 23rd, but a scenario of accumulating over 1,000 units followed by a multi-day massive strike broken into several waves is also not ruled out. This is currently a forecast, not confirmed plans. That's all for today's situation. If this report was useful, please subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss new episodes, especially since YouTube significantly limits the reach of this kind of content. Thank you for being with us. This was Ruslan Belov. Take care of yourselves, and we will continue to monitor the situation.